Hi, everyone. It's Miss Akvari in the library. And for today's advisory, I wanted to kind of piggyback off what we did last time. Last time we talked about some of the best books of the year 2021. Now that we're in February, I wanted to give you a quick preview of some great titles that are coming this year. In fact, we just got a couple new boxes of books in, and I'm waiting to unpack those, and maybe these will be in those boxes. So the first book I wanted to tell you about is called Res Dogs. It's by Joseph Bruchak. He has other books in our library, and in this book, the main character, her name is Malian, and she's visiting her grandparents on an Indian reservation near Boston, Massachusetts, when COVID strikes. And I don't know if you remember, it's been a long time now, but in those first few weeks, people didn't go anywhere. There wasn't anything open, and it wasn't safe to travel, and you weren't able to, even if you tried. And so, what Malian is ends up doing is she and her grandparents and their community on their reservation spend time helping each other and protecting each other. And so Malian just stays indoors with her grandparents. She doesn't want to catch anything from her friends and pass it along. She also works with her grandparents to teach them how to video chat and do different things like that, so that they can stay in touch with their family, which is something a lot of people did in that early point of COVID. Malian also learns a lot from being with her grandparents. She learns ancestral stories and history of her family, and she learns how her ancestors had to deal with diseases brought by colonizers. And she learns how her grandfather was sent to a state-run boarding school that sort of took away his identity, and how her own mother spent time in foster care. And what that did to her family. It's a really interesting book, and it's kind of interesting to think of COVID. It's still happening, but sometimes to even think back to those early times really makes us realize how much we've all been through. The next book I want to tell you about is called The Gilded Ones. In this book, the main character, Dika, has always felt different from the people that live in her village. She has this intuition, this power where it's almost like she can predict the future, and it sets her apart. And Dika is 16, and at 16, she participates in the blood ceremony. And Dika is hoping, praying, wishing that she has pure blood, which is red blood. And unfortunately for Dika, when she partakes in the blood ceremony, her blood is gold. And that sounds fascinating, but it's actually really not good. It puts her in danger in her village. And so she's approached with a choice. She is able to go to the main city and join other girls like her who are different, who have gold blood, who have special abilities that are outside the normal. But the trade-off is that she's in an army to protect the emperor. So she's going to go into battle. So it's a really interesting, beautiful story about the powers that we have, what sets us apart, and how that can, maybe it doesn't always create that community we want, but it helps us kind of come into our true self. And also, P.S., I love the cover art of this book. That is a very powerful young girl right there. The last book I wanted to tell you about is called The Ash House, and this is a very creepy sort of book. The main character, his name is Saul, and he has this terrible, painful condition that he can't really get answers for. And so he comes to the Ash House, which is supposed to be kind of like a summer camp or a boarding school, and it's supposed to be a place where people go and recover and get healed. And what he finds is that the second he gets there, he starts to have trouble remembering who he is. And the other kids who are there kind of want him to follow certain rituals and things that they do. And it's very, very strange and very creepy. And suddenly this doctor shows up. And the more time Saul spends there, his pain isn't getting better, it's getting worse. And he's not getting to know the kids. They actually trust him less. And he learns that he really needs to get out of here somehow if he can just figure it out. I love creepy, mysterious stories like that, and hopefully you will too. So I'm excited to have that one in the library. Here are a few other books that you'll be able to kind of look at and investigate. All of these books are coming in the next month or two. So keep an eye out. And then just remember, you can place reserves online